Welcome in, I'm Archerus, and in this video, we're going to be going over Boa Hancock, a new leader from OP07. Now, Hancock is a 5-life leader in blue that says during your turn, once per turn, you may activate this when a character leaves play from one of your abilities. If you have 5 or less cards in hand, draw 1 card. So this leader rewards you for going down small in a hand size, so that means you can counter out of attacks that are 5 and 6 in nature that only really require 1, maybe 2 cards at most in the early game, so that you can keep your hand size around the 4 to 5, and then use effects from other cards that you have in your deck to bottom deck or get rid of cards on the opponent's side of the field. You can also do that to your own stuff as well if you need to use the effect, but overall, it's rewarding you by staying healthy and then having removal for a lot of the stuff on the field that your opponent plays down. Before we get into the deck list, if you find anything in this video useful or informative, please make sure to drop a like and a sub. It helps out the channel immensely. Additionally, if you'd like to talk about the One Piece card game outside of the YouTube comments, please make sure to join the Discord. The link is in the description below. Would love to have you as part of the community. All right, so going into the deck list, this runs a very similar deck list to Blue Doflamingo from OP01 in that it runs a Warlord package for much of the early to mid game. So we're looking at 3 Edward Weevil, which is an addition from EB01 that says on play, draw a card. The main thing you're going to be doing with Weevil is you're going to be going second and playing it on your turn 2. Hopefully you're able to get the new Jinbei and play that with a Weevil in hand so that you can get 2 bodies on the board very early and start applying a little bit of a pressure either to the opponent's board or to their life. Preferably, if they already have characters on the board, start swinging into those instead, because the way that this deck plays is very much a control deck as opposed to a Doflamingo, which feels a little bit more like a mid-range aggro style deck with a few late game pieces here and there. So talking about Doflamingo, we are running the 3-drop blocker Doflamingo. This is a great card going first. So if you're going first and you're on your 3-Don, you can play this down on turn 2, and then 1, it has blocker, and then 2, it has the on play, being able to stack the top 5 cards of your deck or bottom them if you don't like what you saw. So ultimately, you're going to be mulliganing for this if you are going first. It's not a bad option to see in your hand if you're going second. Usually this will help set up the rest of the game for you. We're running 4 Kaya. Now, Kaya is a decent card here that will allow you to draw 2 Trash 2. You can also use it as 2k counter, but you can use this to kind of like dwindle your hand size down early game so that you're within that 4 to 5 threshold. So you can use your leader ability by getting rid of the opponent's board. You can also replace this with a Pudding 2k counter, which is I think a 2 cost and basically will allow it to bounce back to your hand, which also will proc your leader ability. So in between Kaya and Pudding, but I think for this video, we're going to go with Kaya. We're also running 4 of the 10-drop Kaidos. This is an on play. If your opponent has 3 or less life, draw 4 cards. So I think that I prefer this card over the other 10-drop Kaido. The other 10-drop Kaido is one that bounces an 8 cost and a 3 cost. 8 and 3 is a very specific 2 costs to hit. And so I think in this meta, there's a fair amount of 9 cost cards. There's a fair amount of 10 cost cards. And I do think that there is a place for Kaido. I think in this deck list, I like the draw 4 instead because I am getting rid of my hand a lot very early, and being able to replenish what you have gotten rid of definitely helps make sure that you stay in the game a little bit longer, especially when you're dropping a bomb like this 10-drop Kaido. The other Kaido, the one that bounces, once again, not so bad. It's really decent into like Lucci or any black decks simply because it can bounce the Moria and it can bounce back something else that they played, maybe like a Brook. So that will give you a little bit of tempo there. Against like a Enel, the 10-drop bounce Kaido is really only good against like a Katakuri, but overall, I feel like I like this Kaido better. And I think your black matchup is kind of not so great anyway, so something that might help a little bit could be good, but in the end, you're probably not going to be winning too many games. Just honestly putting that out there, black is one of the harder colors for Boa to handle, so I would say, why not just make sure that your other matchups are pretty strong by being able to draw into a bunch of cards towards that end game. Then we're running 4 Charlotte Pudding. This might be a little excessive, but I definitely think that this card is necessary for this deck. One of the ways that you can hurt your opponent the most is by hitting their hand. And so you're going to be attacking in. Hopefully they're going to be taking some hits. And if they're at 7 in their hand, I think Pudding is a good time to come down. And this card, it just returns all the cards from the opponent's hand into their deck, and then they shuffle, then they draw a new 5, which is super annoying, and I think a lot of players have to play around blue for this card specifically. And so I like it at 4. You can run it at less, but I want to see it, and I definitely am happy to see it multiple times in a game sometimes. Sometimes an opponent will have this come down on them, and then they'll have a hand size back up to 7 or 8 in a turn or two, especially if they're playing a blue mirror. They might have the draw Kaido, and then having a pudding to answer that is really good. Then we're running 4 Crocodile. This is a 7 Warlords of the Sea, a 2k counter. Now it's an on-play, pay 1, return up to 1 cost 2 or lower character to the owner's hand. So you can proc your leader ability if you have 5 or less cards in hand, and then play the Crocodile down, and then bounce something like a Kaya or a Sengoku back to the hand by paying the 1. That's a way to use this. Other times it's mostly a 2k counter, but I think Crocodile definitely can be played out onto the field. A lot of your 2k counters in this deck are playable out on the field itself. Then we're running 4 Jinbei. This is a great early to mid-range card. This came out in OP07, so in this set, and it's an on-play, play up to 1 cost 4 or lower 7 Warlords of the Sea type character card other than Jinbei from your hand. So ideally going second, you play this on your turn 2, you play the Jinbei, and then you have a Edward Weevil in hand, and the Edward Weevil will also draw 1. So you're getting 2 bodies down for the price of 1, and then you're also drawing a card on top of that. That is probably your best opening start you can have, followed up by a Boa Hancock 6 cost, which is a new card from OP07, which says on play, up to one of your opponent's characters other than Luffy cannot attack until the end of the next turn. Then place up to 1 cost 1 or lower character in the bottom of its owner's deck. Keep in mind, you can do that with your own Sengoku, which we'll get to in a second. You can do that with a Kaya, and this will also proc your leader ability. This is a super strong card to be able to tempo out an opponent, especially if they played a character that you don't have an answer to currently that turn. Sometimes you can play the Hancock down, gain a little bit of time to be able to get an answer the next turn or two, whether that be a Red Rock or like a Gravity Blade. And then you also have a body that swings for 8 the following turn, which is really, really good. This is a vanilla stat line with a great effect on it. Then I mentioned Sengoku. This is a 1 cost. On play, look at the top 5 cards of your deck and reveal it to 1 card with the 7 Warlords C type and add it to your hand. Then place the remaining cards at the bottom of your deck in any order. So this searches out for a lot of your 2Ks or maybe some combo pieces like Jinbei or Weevil. This also searches out the Boa Hancock, which is really nice as well. And this is also a new addition from OP07, so a fair amount of cards from OP07 into this deck. Then a card from Starter Deck 3, Dracula Mihawk is a 2k counter, 7 Warlords of the Sea. Dawn times 1 when attacking, draw 2 cards and trash 2 cards from your hand. Ultimately, if I don't have a Weevil in hand to combo with my Jinbei, I will look to have a Mihawk in hand to bring out, because being able to dig deeper into your deck for either answers or like your 10 cost is really strong in this meta. So I like to have the Mihawk down in the field, and I think people will generally try to get rid of this card because they don't want you to gain the extra value or try to find pieces at the end of the day. So one of the reasons why Sabo, Black Sabo, is so strong is because of the draw 2, trash 2. This effect is great, and you're also getting an attack out of it. So I like Mihawk at 4. Obviously, you can switch some of the 2Ks around for other 2Ks if you'd like, but I think that the Warlord package is pretty strong overall. Then we're running 4 of the Gum Gum Rain. This is a 0-cost event that basically just says trash a card from your hand when you're activating this effect, and your leader or up to one of your characters gains plus 3,000 power during this battle. So that is a very much needed card, I think, in this deck, because you are running a lot of dead cards, whether that be Hancock, Weevil, Kaido, Red Rock, or Gravity Blade. You can just turn any of those into essentially a 2 and a 1 with this 0-cost event. Also, the trigger can return up to 1 character with the cost of 2 or less to the owner's hand. So if you'd like, you can return a Sengoku, a Kaya if you've played it down, and that is something you can do with that effect overall. Typically, though, I'll keep this in hand. Then we're running 3 Red Rocks. This is a card that just gets rid of anything on the field. Place 1 character at the bottom of its owner's deck. No KO, just bottom deck it. Probably the best event removal in the game, just because the bottom decking effect is so strong, and the trigger effect is place up to 1 character with a cost of 4 or less at the bottom of its owner's deck. So sometimes you can get rid of a character that is swinging into you and don't have to worry about having this in hand as a dead card, and you can just use the effect there. Then the other card that we're running is the Gravity Blade Raging Tiger. This is a main, place up to 2 cost 6 or less characters in any order at the bottom of the owner's deck. So this is a great tempo play, one of the cards that you're going to be looking for, especially against like Law, Red Purple Law, and also Red Green Law as well. Any deck that spits out a bunch of bodies, the trigger is placed up to 1 cost 5 or less character on the bottom of its owner's deck. So the trigger will hit a lot of cards, and also the regular effect, it will hit a lot of cards as well. This also hits cards like Boa Hancock, so that's really nice too, because Boa Hancock is a 6 cost, even though it has a huge stat line of 8k power. The 6 cost is something that you have to keep in mind is probably going to be a detriment to you when you're playing against Lucci, easier to get rid of. But if you're playing in like a mirror or like against another, like a Dofi, another blue deck, the Gravity Blade can hit the Boa Hancock and then another card on the field as well. So Gravity Blade overall very strong in this deck. So yeah, I think the way that this deck plays, very much a tempo-based deck. You're trying to put as many bodies onto the field early game as you possibly can, just so you can contest the board and apply a little bit of pressure. And then in between, when you're having those bodies out on the field, using your events like Red Rock or Gravity Blade to kind of equalize the field or like give you more of an advantage by returning some cards on the opponent's side to the bottom or whatever it may be. And then at the end of the day, once you have basically exhausted your resources, you replenish them with the 10 cost Kaido. Once again, you can put the 10 cost Ether Kaido, the one that bounces. You can also put 9 cost Mihawk in this deck. But I think that usually like the 1-for-1 with like Mihawk hitting a 7 cost is kind of like a little bit of an awkward thing for me. I understand why it can be fit into this deck, but overall I think you're trying to do as much as you can early to mid with like the bodies from the 7 Warlords and then just play out this big body Kaido. And it's just, I like this card a lot. Being able to draw cards is, in a card game, drawing cards wins you games most of the times, you know? So, but overall, let's take it into the sim and see how it does. All right, against Bonney, I think that we're going to try, well, unfortunately, we're going first, so I was going to say try to hit something on curve, but I think Jinbei Weevil is a really strong effect regardless. Let's go ahead and play the Kaya down and just see what we can get out of this, and I think it's fine to get rid of a Pudding and probably a Crocodile as well. Then we can pass the turn. This next turn, I would probably assume we should swing into the Bonney. I think that's a fair thing to do here, especially if they decide to, yeah, use the effect. Perfect. We're going to swing Kaya into it. It's probably going to go. If they decide to counter out, even better. Because that's cards out of hand, which I don't mind here. Although the Pudding, arguably the Pudding here would be like a decent card to keep in mind. Like maybe they can keep searching with the Bonney and then use the Pudding to get rid of whatever they have. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind there. But overall, a couple of swings at the Bonney will do it. That's fine. The 7 at leader could have been a better play, of course, but I guess you can't complain here. So our ideal play next is, I mean, we can't counter out of this one, so let's just take it. I think our ideal play here is just go 5. We're going to go Sengoku, Jinbei Weevil. With the Sengoku, we're looking for a 2k counter. Well, Doflamingo's fine as well. Getting a blocker is just as good. We'll get the Jinbei and into a Weevil and then pass. We could have gotten a Weevil as well. Didn't know that another Jinbei would be coming our way, but yeah, that's fine. I think what we can do here is actually counter out. So let's go ahead and counter here, and then we'll draw into 1, we'll play the Hancock, freeze this, bottom deck the Kaya, draw another off of that effect, and we should be okay. So let's go ahead and swing 6. They're probably going to rest the leader or Jinbei. It doesn't really matter, to be quite honest. Let's get a 2k out of hand, and then let's get another 2k out of hand here. The more 2Ks we can get out of their hand, the better. Means like once it gets late game, they're going to be a little bit harder to be able to counter out of some of these attacks, as opposed to swinging like a 5 and a 7. The 7's pretty much guaranteed. The 5 only really gets a 1k out of hand. So I think the better attacks here with 6 are fine overall. Yeah, we just got like 3 cards out of hand. So Pudding is a little bit dead at this point, but that's fine. We can use it as a counter now. And then we'll bottom deck the Kaya and then draw 1. So Cavendish is offline. It's not going to be able to attack this next turn. The worst thing that we can see here is probably a Hody Jones. Just being able to rest a Hancock and then swinging into it is a pain. So a blocker we don't really mind too much. And this looks like they might be setting up for... I think we might just let this one go. Might be setting up for like a kid play. But that's also really awkward, so... Let's see here. We could go 4 Jinbei, bring out Mihawk, and then play 3 for the Doflamingo blocker. I think that's a fine play. Let's not invest any Dawn quite yet. Let's just swing 8 first. Get them down. We'll get them to the 3 range unless they decide to block here. The 3 range is really good for us because 3 means that our Kaido is online. Cool. We'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and then we can just swing 7 with lead. We haven't seen any removal pieces, which is a little awkward. I think for me, Gravity Blade would have been perfect here, but we didn't see it, unfortunately, so that's quite okay. We'll go Jinbei into Mihawk and then Doflamingo here. And I really like the Kaido, so and Kaido brings a lot of 2Ks with it as well, which is really nice to see. So let's go ahead and do this. Next turn, we're going to be able to apply a lot of pressure. Ultimately, if the Weevil goes down, the Weevil goes down. This next turn, yeah, a Kid is a little bit of a problem, sure. But I think what we can do is we can just block whatever attack they have here with like Cavendish is probably going to go towards the Weevil, open up 2 Dawn. They might swing 7. We can counter out. So actually, we can just use the pudding here instead of using a 2K at the end of the day. So what they would have done is 6 here and then 7 here. So we can just block the 7 and save a 2K in hand. We probably are not going to be able to do much here other than just swing 8 with Hancock. They'll probably freeze one of these or like rest one of these, probably the Weevil, and then counter out of this, of course. Okay, we're going to play this down, and then we'll pass the turn. So we have a lot of 2Ks in hand. We have a lot of ways to protect some of these units. I think Weevil is probably going to be going down this next turn, which is fine. We just don't want the Boa Hancock to go down, because the Boa Hancock is a great way to attack into the Kid. At this point in time, a Red Rock would be perfect for us. A Red Rock, or even, like, I don't know, maybe something like a... Gravity Blade would be good too, getting rid of the Uroge and Cavendish. Very nice here. So yeah. This signifies that they do not have the 10 cost, which is fine with me. They are replenishing their hand, which does suck. One of the great things about Bonney behind, double Bonney behind Kid, is that they can just replenish their hand after getting rid of stuff. So they are filling up on 2Ks right now, which that's what it looks like. If we do get a Gravity Blade, we can go Gravity Blade, get rid of these 2, and then swing all out with the Kaido, and then get rid of the board from there. But that's very dependent on if we can get the Gravity Blade, so something to keep in mind there. We can search for it with Mihawk, and we also have 2 Kayas. I don't recommend it. Like, I don't recommend getting Kayas out of hand here, but it is what it is. I guess we could go like this. I suppose that's fine. Red Rock would be great off the top. Unfortunate that we didn't get it. Let's go here. Let's go 12 to 8. We can probably search for it with the Mihawk as well. What we could do is like 3 with the Mihawk and maybe find like a Gravity Blade. But we'll go 3 here. Gosh darn it. It's not exactly what I wanted to see, but that's okay. I don't need another Kaido, so we'll get rid of this. We really don't have the time to play it, unfortunately. Okay. And then we're just going to go ahead and get rid of this. We're going to stop this from attacking, and we're going to bottom deck their Bonney and then draw 1. Gravity Blade next turn. Perfect. Where were you this turn? That would have been nice to have for sure. But what we can do this next turn is ideally be able to, well, 10 drop does suck here, but that's okay. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. We can get rid of a couple things here. So, yeah, we're going to take this hit, and then we will not take that hit. We're going to bottom deck these 2 here. So bottom deck these 2, and then we can swing 11 at 8. 11 at 8 is going to make sure that they are down to 1 card if they have like enough in hand, which is really nice. So we're just going to do this. We're going to go 11 to 8 here. And I think they have 2 2Ks possibly. So we're going to just make sure that we get rid of the 2 2Ks here. Okay. They don't have it, so we're going to swing 5 at lead. And then we have this really big board presence to have them try to answer. We also have a Boa Hancock to freeze their Doflamingo. The big thing that I imagine they're going to try to do is either chain Doflamingos here. So locking down the Kaido. Swinging a flat 10 pretty much says that, yeah, they're going to try to do this. So we're going to save this Boa Hancock, and they're probably going to freeze 1, 2, 3. Okay, wow. No freeze. That's good there. If they go for the Weevil, I think we're fine with letting it go. We are fine with, you know, this as well. Whoo! Okay, this is even better. Okay, I like this play even better. Let's go ahead and get rid of these two. Draw a card. And then let's just go 12. They're going to rest a Hancock. That's fine. Oh, they're resting the Mihawk. Ooh, okay. All right, all right. I don't think they could have been able to counter out of a lot of stuff there, it looks like. They had an 8 cost and then 2 trigger events and then a 1 cost event. So yeah, I think we had a little bit of a slow start here. We weren't able to find like our removal pieces immediately, but we were able to dig for them for turns after. The Kaido getting us a little bit further into the deck, and then the Mihawk definitely showing why I think it's a great card to play down. All right, I guess Purple Luffy. I'm not quite sure how this matchup should go, to be quite honest, but I think Gravity Blade is definitely a card you want to see in this matchup. Let's keep the hand because we can send Goku search for like a Jinbei, even a Weevil at worst. If we get a Jinbei, we can play out the Mihawk, which is nice. Okay, so we do get the Weevil. That's fine with me, and then we can probably pass the turn. I think I want to hold on to the Kaya, to be quite honest. I don't quite want to get rid of 2Ks, especially against Luffy. I think we have to make sure to counter out as much as possible here. Okay, well, I mean, there's not much you can do about that. We'll just take that one, I suppose. And then we'll go 5 at face, play a Weevil, and then good luck, Weevil. Actually, I don't think they can do anything, can they? Is there anything that they can do on 7? Well, not now. I think they could have done like a poly play. Would have been probably ideal for them, I suppose. We'll go 5. Get a 1K out of hand. And this is one of the cases where I actually don't mind going 7 at their face. And then playing another Weevil down and then passing the turn. So maybe we can keep our Weevil alive. This is the play where they would go pretty hard at, yeah, Weevil, I suppose. So let's go ahead and do a Gum Gum Rain into that. We'll get rid of 1 Gravity Blade because we have another one behind us. So that's totally fine. Use this. And then this looks like, okay, great. Another one. Unlucky. Let's just go hard at face then. Let's go 7. Uh, 8. And then another 8. They got rid of a lot of cards there. Whew. Love to see it. Love to see it. Now, if we can keep this alive, if we were able to keep these guys alive, that'd be great. Of course, there's the poly play coming in, clutch. We are going to just go ahead and counter out. And we'll take that one for sure. We're going to bottom deck both of these guys, use the card action, swing 5, swing 7, and get them down to 0. This turn, they have to put up a blocker, or, you know, they can't really do much with the Kaido. I think Kaido would get rid of something. Yeah, they have to put up blockers. So we can actually, if they do 2 blockers here, we can get rid of them with the Gravity Blade, protect this Edward Weevil at all cost, if possible. If not, then it is what it is. I think it's okay to take this. I think it's okay to take this. Yeah, 2 queens. And then we're just going to go ham. We're just going to go really hard at their face. Bottom deck these, draw, go 5, get a 1K out of hand, and then we're going to swing 9 and hope that they don't have enough counter. And if they do, then hold on for the next turn, because I feel like next turn would be ideal for them to play Kaido, because we're down to 2 life, but we do have a fair amount of counter in hand, so we should be okay, I would imagine. If they start going face, they have Kaido. That's for sure. Interesting. What would they want to do here? Like 10 here, we can counter out. They might play a 5 cost blocker and go 6. So let's go here, here, here. Just protect it because we want to be able to have 2 swings. And if they have a blocker, they're not going to be able to get rid of, like, be able to defend both of the swings here. Yeah. Looks like they're going to play down a Law or Sanji, probably the Law if I were them. And then they have where I have 1 attack ideally, and then they have like enough to either block it or counter out there. So yeah, keeping the Weevil there was pretty crucial. Yeah, Kaido's pretty much a dead card in this matchup, especially especially if they see two Magellans back to back. But that's why in this matchup specifically, Gravity Blade is really good. Essentially being able to answer the Magellans without having any kind of blowback is really, really important there. All right, going against Enel, we're going to take second because we want to be able to play some things on curve here. Jinbei into Weevil would be great. I think this is a decent hand, so we're going to keep it. We have a Pudding to answer them later. We have Hancock to play on curve. We also have Kaido. They're already down to 3 life, so now we don't have to worry about attacking into them. Ideally, we can get a Warlord here in this next turn. I don't want to just flat out play Jinbei by itself with nothing else. So yeah, it is what it is, I suppose. I mean, this is fine. We'll take the hit. We'll take the one hit. It's not the end of the world. We'll go ahead and play the Jinbei. We have nothing else to play with it. A naked Jinbei does suck. So we're off to a rough start here, but it is what it is. Let's go ahead and just play this, prevent, and then bottom deck that. This next turn, 7, could be like an Enel, another Onami. They're just going banish. I guess that's fine. I'm not like too worried about it. Getting down to 3 is pretty good for us. Yeah, not the worst thing in the world. We've seen worse for sure. Let's go ahead and bottom deck these 2, and then pass. So tied on life. Next turn, we can drop the Kaido and draw a bunch, which is really good. Let's go ahead and just get rid of a Kaya. No, a Jinbei is better, actually. We probably should have attacked there, seeing that a Yamato came down, but it is what it is. And then we can pass. We can also go this next turn, play like a Boa Hancock and freeze their Yamato, which is really nice. Freeze the Yamato and then go like Flampe. We can also go like Pudding into a Hancock. Something else to keep in mind. Okay. Interesting. We're going to have to take this one. It's fine. And then what? Oh, this is actually not so bad. This is actually not so bad. We can counter out of this one. Go here. We're going to reset their hand. Swing at the Yamato. And then we're going to do this. Freeze the Katakuri and then bottom deck their 1 cost. And now we have a red rock for the next turn. So that's something to keep in mind. I actually don't mind if they use the Onami on top of like a Pudding. So we're just going to use the red rock on top of like the ace here. Because I think this is not like the biggest problem in the world. Let's go 5. Okay. That's fine. Let's go 5 here. Bottom this, and I think we're okay. We can survive one more turn. We'll just keep these bodies out, and then what's going to end up happening is they might swing really hard here, and we just counter out of some of this stuff, so. Boa Hancock, sure. Fine, I suppose. We're just going to get rid of some of this stuff. We'll go 12 to 8. We'll go here, into here, and then we'll just pass. We have to play it pretty careful these next couple of turns, of course. A Luffy to get rid of a Weevil into probably another Luffy potentially could be a problem. This Gravity Blade is not doing me anything. It's really not. We're just going to do a single 2K here. They might swing 5 at lead. We're just going to counter out of this one as well. We'll go 12 into the 8. They interestingly let that happen. We're going to grab a 2K. And then we're going to play this down into... I think we just play another... We play Mihawk down. Just so we can have a bunch of bodies on the board. This next turn is really smart for me, I think. We might have to worry about a Yamato coming down and popping one of these, but at least it's popping one of these and not having to heal, I suppose, is a problem. Yeah, Yamato popping one of these is whatever. Not the end of the world here. Okay, we'll go here. And then we're going to start seeing what they have in hand. So we're going to go 5. They take it. We'll go 5 again. Wow, I'm surprised they're taking this. They might have an ace, and that's the reason why. But if they have an ace here, I think... They always have a zero-cost event, I swear. Okay, if that's the case, then what we're going to end up doing is we're just going to play this down. And then pass. Because I don't want to get them down to 1 or 0, and then them play the ace and get the value off the ace. So either they're going to play the ace down. Okay, that's fine. They don't get anything off of the Yamato, which is good for us. We like to see that. We'll go here. How do we want to do this? Let's test the waters, I suppose. Go here. Ooh, nice. Okay, so we can get rid of this, and I think we can get rid of 1 pudding. Okay, let's swing another 5. Or sorry, another 7. We're just trying to get cards out of hand. We're attempting to push for lethal here. It just depends on what they do. So it looks like they took that. We have a potential to go for lethal, which is nice. The only downside here is that if they have like some kind of trigger that could stop this final Kaido from attacking, like a beige or a zero-cost event, we're in a little bit of trouble. They don't have it, so that means we can just use the rest of the 6 Dawn to just swing all in here. They will not have the counter for this, of course. What I was hoping for was that we would be able to do this, but you kind of have to prepare for the worst. I was kind of doing 2 different things here. One, I was playing with my Dawn to kind of see what they were going to give me here. And if we weren't able to close out the game in this turn, you could have played a Hancock to freeze the Yamato. And then we have enough counter in hand to be able to survive at least 1 hit from them, potentially 2 hits as well. So I think we were in an okay spot. We just have to keep in mind, like, okay, this deck is going to start playing big body after big body later in the game. And if we can nullify their their life advantage by them not healing or not using the on-play effects as efficiently, like when they played that Yamato for basically nothing, that is really good for us, really good value plays. And if we can stack up a bunch of 10-cost Kaidos with them not being able to freely Raigo, then I think that's super important for this matchup. So yeah, ultimately you have to kind of play it smart because a lot of your characters can be answered by theirs. So they have Katakuri for Hancock, they have Yamatos to be able to pop like your 4 costs. The only thing that they can't easily answer is 10 cost Kaido, and that's why you don't get them down to 1 life. You make them pay the Raigo cost by trashing life if you can. So that's super important at the end of the day. So yeah, ultimately that's like how you have to approach this matchup, is try to get at least 1 10 cost Kaido on the field and then stack up the rest of the field the best that you can. Well, I think that Boa Hancock is overall a very solid leader if you're wanting to pick up a decent control deck. I'm not sure if it's going to be better than a Blue Doflamingo, and obviously there's ways that you can alter this deck to kind of play to the meta a little bit better. Obviously at the beginning of this video I said that you can play Mihawk, the 9-cost Mihawk, you can play the 10-cost Bounce Kaido, so those are a couple of other flex options you can throw into the deck, but I think having a solid base of 7 Warlords and then having Kaido to kind of close out games is really important. Your Lucci matchup is going to be absolutely horrid. It's like one of the worst matchups you can possibly have, which is unfortunate because it is very much a well-represented deck in the OP07 meta. So the chances of you coming across a Lucci is very high, but this deck has a really good win rate against like decks like Enel, decks like Bonney, anything in that realm. I think you're going to do okay against those decks for sure. So I think if your meta is very much littered with Enel, Bonney, and even Black Yellow Luffy, I think that Boa Hancock is a very solid choice. Just keep in mind, Lucci's really hard. A little advice before we close out this video for the Lucci matchup: if you go second, getting a Jinbei Weevil is pretty much the main way that you're going to win this matchup, and being able to chain out those bodies. So Jinbei into Weevil on your second Dawn turn, or your second turn, into the following turn like a Boa Hancock. Here's an ideal play: Sengoku on turn 1, Jinbei into Weevil on turn 2, Boa Hancock on turn 3, and then bottom decking the Sengoku, and then drawing a card off the effect, and then using a Red Rock or a Gravity Blade on the following turn to answer something, or another Boa Hancock is great. You're just kind of stalling as much as you can, building up bodies, and then playing out a 10-cost Kaido if it makes sense, but for the most part, you're kind of trying to be as aggressive as possible by cheating out as many bodies with the Jinbei. So I think that's the best way to handle that matchup, but once again, it's a losing matchup. It's hard. It's really hard. I know that there's people that can do it really well, but I'm just letting you know, if you go into the sim to play this deck and you play a lot of Luchis, you're going to have a rough time overall. But in the grand scheme of the meta, I think Boa has a really strong place. Solid B to maybe low A tier deck. Yeah, hopefully you guys will take Boa into consideration when you're picking a deck to play this set. We still have a lot of time left in OP07, so I am excited to see what else comes out. Overall, I really appreciate you guys watching the video as always, and I'll see you guys in the next one.